How do you see the role of India in coming few years?
No, I think India Inc. It's COVID has been a great wake-up call, obviously, because you realize suddenly that half the ingredients you don't even have in the country. So I think this whole Atmanirbharta thing it's a good natural trend, right? To really value your own workforce, value the fact that you have the world's largest workforce, and buy more that's locally made, etc. And so, yeah, one has to always be optimistic, but one has to remember that it's not easy for India, because India is a young consumption economy. So it's the oldest consumption economies, I believe, from where the trends will start.
Okay.
Yeah. It is really tough to expect a first-time consumer. Suddenly you tell the person, "Ke bhaiya, you can't use this plastic or that jilmil," or it's a natural evolution. They will want to be, consumers of a certain kind. Yeah. So that's a disadvantage. Therefore, one cannot really blame the Indian brands on the slightly non-sustainable trends they are on, because you're dealing with a first-time consumer whose needs are very different from a mature society which has been consuming for decades. So that's the problem, I think, in India.
At last 2 years, there's a lot of focus on ESG, and like I was telling you, regulators are also asking questions, especially to top 1,000 companies by market cap. SEBI has mandated them to report on business responsibility, sustainability report, where questions are asked on sustainability sourcing. Do you think this push by regulators or large institutional investors from the Nordic countries will support this movement?
I don't think it can be done only one-sided. I'm on the board of a few companies who are in your top 1,000. I am an independent director. I see their side of it. Yeah. At the same time, they have to compete. Yeah. It's like I told you, you're dealing with a young consumer. Yeah. In their life cycle. So it's not as though they have that kind of premiums to provide for the sustainability aspect to these companies. So the companies also have to survive.
Right.
So you cannot put the entire burden on the companies. I'm very clear about it. Yeah. I believe that there is a very big role for governments and civil society to step in. And so which is why I talk a lot about that the money to do all this is not going to come from the corporates alone. It is all about government stepping in and also the donors.
Like the multilaterals and bilaterals.
And philanthropy and CSR stepping in to fill the gaps.
Something like how we used to talk public-private partnership in about 10 years
Yes.
back for ITIs and all, something
Yes.
similar lines.
I don't think the burden can be put entirely on the corporates. It's very unrealistic.
Right. And finally, Neelam, if you can share, 2 cents about, what should emerging social enterprises, especially those who are working on textile or FMCG side also, what should they do to kind of look at quality and scale and amplify the social impact? What should be doing? Some 3-4 steps that you think are important that they should be doing.
I think it's very important for them to build partnerships as soon as possible with the market. Because I think our biggest learning and growth has come, and it's been very challenging working with an IKEA. It's been extremely difficult. But that's also the only reason why we stand apart.
Yeah.
Because we've been forced along the learning curve. So we could have chosen much easier paths where we would not have been that answerable to anyone.
Right.
But if a shipment gets rejected, if we are not on time, if we don't get things done, our teams get a lot of flack from the buyer, right? And we in turn have to be the cushion for the community, right? Because if this flack was going to the community, either IKEA would have left or the community would have left. So we are the buffers, right? So it's very important. You have to bite the bullet, and you should build your market engagements, as early as you can in your growth. it's the best hand holder to take you ahead, yeah, towards sustainability. And obviously try and build more models that are dependent, that will wean off donor funding at some point. Because all our models are, we raise philanthropic capital, we call it equity, we call it grant equity.
Okay.
It's a grant functioning like an equity initially, because first 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it takes,
Yeah.
you need it. But then at some point it should become self-sustaining. So these are my tips.
Thank you so much, Neelam, for giving us time and sharing the journey about Industree Foundation. It's definitely a big learning for all of us.